Hey everybody, welcome back to Survival Prepping for Normal People. Different camera right now until I get some technical difficulties sorted out. But until then, it's Freaky Fridays. Let's talk about something kind of freaky. I've talked about it before, but I want to talk about it in a different aspect today. Um, Back in the 80s, President Ronald Reagan gave a speech to the United Nations where he laid out the theory that humanity would join together and all the nations of the world would set aside their differences very quickly if we were faced with an extraterrestrial threat. Now, he could have been talking about an asteroid or a comet or something like that, but I think he was more specifically talking about extraterrestrial life, like aliens invading the planet. Something along the lines of Independence Day, that Will Smith movie. Pretty cool movie, right? But you see at the end of the movie when the humans figure out how to fight back against the aliens, all the nations of the earth join forces to strike against the invaders and win. We drive them off, I guess, right? They made a second movie, but I hadn't watched that one yet. Anyhow, somebody else you may have heard of, another famous historical figure talked about that, told his secretary how, as a high-ranking member of the Nazi Party, he was privy to information about how world domination would be achieved, and it would be done through 4 phases. And the final phase was bringing all of humanity under one unified global government to combat an alien invasion, an extraterrestrial threat. Now, the last time I talked about it, I talked about, well, maybe the aliens have like a prime directive, where they're not supposed to interfere with a less developed society so they don't screw us all up so that we come into the galactic country club on our own. And then I thought, well, maybe there are aliens behind the scenes kind of guiding us in certain directions, and maybe that's why the New World Order is trying so hard to be established, because they've been promised all this technology and life extensions and whatever else, if they can get all humans singing from the same page of sheet music. Well, which probably wouldn't really be that bad. But since we tend to spend a lot of our time fighting and killing each other and trying to dominate each other and control each other's resources and everything else, probably wouldn't be a good idea to give us warp drive technology at this point. Probably wouldn't want to unleash humans onto the larger universe. We might be akin to something like the Mongols or the Vikings. We might be the pirates on the intergalactic sea lanes. So maybe there's a benevolent bent to it, but I don't think so. A lot of people talk about disclosure. I'm talking about disclosure of extraterrestrial life. And I don't mean microbial life. There might be some germs or some kind of amoeba that lives on a moon that goes around Jupiter or something like that. That would be pretty cool. I mean, that would be a monumental discovery in and of itself, because as far as we know, this is the only celestial body or planet or moon or whatever that has life on it, that we know of, that we recognize. So let's say they were to disclose that there is intelligent extraterrestrial life out there and that we know about it. If we know about it and they are sufficiently technologically advanced, it would probably be a good bet to say that they know about us and have probably known about us before we knew about them. So what would happen if they came out tomorrow and said, oh yeah, by the way, there's 16 other alien civilizations that we've been in contact with. Anyway, in other news, I mean, that would be huge. That would definitely be the biggest news in all of history, right? That would be like the first people on an island that figured out there were people on the next island. Even though they had no idea they were there. They thought they were the only people in the world. I mean, it's happened before in the past where advanced civilizations have met less advanced civilizations, but even the less advanced civilizations had an advantage. They were humans. They understood how humans think. Humans do things for the same motivations. The tools are just different, but the motivations are the same. Now, those civilizations that were met by a more advanced civilization, they didn't really fare too well. They tended to be wiped out, and if not wiped out, completely subsumed and consumed and brought into the modality of the more advanced civilization. I mean, look at what happened to the Native Americans in North America after the Europeans began to move in. They put up a long and steady resistance, but in the end, they didn't prevail. and their cultures were all but destroyed. Their people were pretty much all but destroyed. There aren't nearly as many of them left as there used to be. Now, I've read estimates that say there were 80 to 90 million people. I don't know. I don't think North America, just people living off of the natural resources, had the carrying capacity for that kind of a population. So it may not have been that high, but let's just say that there were 10 million. There are only 1.5 million, 2 million left now. That's still huge. That's 80% decrease. That's a big deal anyway, right? By anybody's measurement. The Brookings Institute was commissioned to do a study by the United States government back in the 50s, and the question was asked, what would happen to society if people were told that extraterrestrials, advanced civilizations existed? And their recommendation was not to disclose it, that it would be too disruptive, that it would crack the paradigm and flip everybody's reality up on its head to the point where it would cause chaos, confusion, mass unrest, and all of that. But I don't know. Maybe then, but not necessarily now. Now, they also said that, well, there'd be huge implications and ramifications for religion. How would that change religion at all? If there were other creatures out there, they were created by something, right? They didn't just pop into existence out of the void, out of thin air. It's possible. I mean, if God created the universe, who's to say we're his only project? Not that he would tell us that. It's not our business. It's his business. So I don't necessarily see how that would necessarily throw religion into disarray or make people question the existence of God or anything like that. I mean, it all started somewhere, right? So I think we're a much different society now than we were obviously 50 years ago. And with all the predictive programming, all the alien movies from the 50s, all the science fiction movies from the 70s and 80s, all the movies from the 90s till now. You know, a lot of times it's pretty scary, but that's to titillate the people and stimulate the audience and get them in there to sell tickets so that they'll see these movies. But I think that if sufficiently advanced extraterrestrial races were out there and they wanted to eat us, they just would. So I don't necessarily think that that's their game. Enslave us, maybe, but if they have that kind of technology, why not just build machines to serve them? Why would they need us? We're pretty unruly, really. I mean, imagine having a human as a pet. Let's say you were a sufficiently advanced extraterrestrial and you wanted a pet human. We'd be such a pain in the ass. I mean, much less use us as a race of slaves. I mean, I don't know. I think if they can get here, they could probably build machines to do what they needed. That would do exactly what they needed when they wanted it done, and they wouldn't have to deal with us, feed us, change our litter box, and everything else. So eating us or enslaving us, I don't think that's the game either. And people say, well, you know, the aliens might invade for our resources. Anything we have here on Earth, well, like that asteroid in the asteroid belt they found, it's full of platinum and gold and silver. The thing's worth like $5 quintillion, more than all the wealth of the Earth times 6. They could just fly up to that thing and start mining it or whatever. Water's everywhere. Ice is all over the place. So what is it that they would want? And if the powers that be came out and did disclose the fact that there is an extraterrestrial threat, my first question would be, well, what's their beef? Why would they want to threaten us? What's the deal? I mean, what did we do to them? Nothing. I mean, unless they're just intergalactic a-holes that want to go around picking a fight with less sophisticated civilizations so that they're assured of a victory. So it probably wouldn't be a race of warriors like the Klingons or whatever. There's no honor in a 20-year-old going and beating up a preschooler. That's not a victory. That's just malevolence. And I think any race that was sufficiently malevolent to that level probably wouldn't survive their own technological development to reach the point where they could go between the stars and discover other races and planets. I don't know. They may want to take a few of us back for their intergalactic zoo. I mean, there was a Twilight Zone episode like that, right? Where those astronauts figure out they're living in a zoo and it's pretty freaky. Yeah, that was pretty cool. But I don't know. What would they want to do? What would they want to have to do with us? And if they were advanced to a certain level, they wouldn't even care if we existed or not. Unless, of course, we're in the way of the intergalactic highway they're trying to build, and they got to destroy the Earth so they can put an off-ramp here. But I mean, you think they would at least use us as a rest stop or something, or just intercept our television signals. I'm sure we're very entertaining. They could just watch our movies and television shows. I mean, they're pirating the shit anyway. They're not even paying for it. Well, there was a South Park episode, right, where the Earth was a reality show for other aliens, and they were going to cancel the Earth because it wasn't getting any ratings anymore. So they were going to destroy the planet. I don't know. But my question to you guys, though, is how disruptive do you think it would be? Would it cause people to stop going to work? I mean, just because aliens are flying around doesn't mean I don't have to pay my light bill, does it? Unless they're going to give me free energy. And I'm pretty sure the powers that be aren't going to let the aliens do that. They could come here with all kinds of gifts like the cure to cancer. Well, the cancer industry is $1 trillion a year business. I don't think that they're ever going to cure it completely, because you see, even the charities that raise money say they're looking for new treatments. Nobody talks about finding a cure anymore. There's just too much money in it. They wouldn't let the aliens give us free energy technology or 0-point energy technology or anything like that. Too many people would lose their grip on power and control. Interesting that the thunder started when I said the words power and control. I meant for that to happen on purpose. Anyway, I'd like to get your thoughts on how disruptive you think it would really be, and how shocked would most people be, really? Really? I don't know. I don't think so. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be surprised one bit. But I've grown up with the predictive programming and the brainwashing and the manipulation. I mean, all that stuff's in my head. All the books and movies and stuff is all in there. Think it might have been done for a reason? I do. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for being here in the tribe. And I want to ask you, what have you done today to get ready for an alien invasion?